3 minutes
Okay.
to hook up to the different platforms.
Oh,
How was Mexico?
Well, it was I had to go get dental work done, and it was a very interesting situation. I had a emergency surgery while I was there, so I'm still healing. I've got stitches in my mouth, but
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Where'd you go?
I went to Algodones, which is right off Winter Haven. I had a friend who used to be a cop in California, and he knew this girl, the dentist out there, where I wouldn't have probably dared, but she was really good.
Yeah.
And it's like a quarter of the cost that it is out here, and I have to pay cash for it. So
yeah.
Otherwise, it would be 20. I mean, I manifested that at this moment. So.
Yeah. It's funny how things work out, though. Oh, we got people coming in now.
Right.
There's about 23 people here.
Oh, awesome.
Let's see. Okay, so it looks like we're being suppressed a little bit, but that's okay. It comes and goes. It happens sometimes. So if these shows resonate, please, share it to your page or to just one group or something like that while we're our energy is being suppressed a little bit, which isn't a complaint and isn't any type of recognition of anything outside of us being more powerful than us. But yeah, that, and thank you everyone for your continued love and support and contributions. Allow us to keep doing this every single day, somehow, some way. It just happens, and we're thankful for that. So we have Ellen Red here from Sedona, right? You're in Sedona.
I'm actually in Las Vegas.
Oh, you're in Vegas? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought you were in Sedona.
You saw me in Sedona with Esteban. That's why.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Esteban. Yeah. I won't hold that against you, knowing Esteban. No, he's an awesome guy. He's an awesome guy. I got to get him on the show. So, well, in like typical Sology style, in many cases, I don't know anything about you hardly. I have been to your page, and I did, look around a little bit. It's very interesting.
Which one?
I went to your Facebook personal page, and then I went down the news feed and got a kind of just while I was waiting, and then I did go to the website and to the YouTube, but they both said they weren't there.
Oh, the YouTube did also?
Yeah. It said I have it right here. Yeah, it said that it wasn't found. Okay, let's see. YouTube, Ellen Red. Yeah, let's see. Unless it's the link's typed in wrong, because it says it's not available. But okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. Robert Stern was out there, and I visited him, and that's who I was actually visiting in Sedona. But yeah, and okay, well, Ellen Red on YouTube, and the website right now is being worked on, so that's why you probably couldn't open it. But I have several other pages and groups too.
Yeah. So Robert Stern too. I won't hold that against you. I know Robert. He's
cool dude.
We've connected. He's very cool. Yeah. So we'll just get to know each other in front of our brothers and sisters and see what's happening on the front line of the apocalypse today, January 29th, 2021 at 3:21 in Central Time, 2:21 Las Vegas time, right? I think Las Vegas is Las Vegas.
1:21 Las Vegas time.
Oh, you're Pacific time. Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you wake up, or have you always been this weird?
Well, I've always been this weird in the sense that I drowned when I was 4, and I had an out-of-body experience and went to heaven and all that. And I was always a psychic kid, but I had a full-blown Kundalini awakening about 10 years ago, which is where I met my divine counterpart and, went on that journey. Wow.
That's a lot said in a few words.
I was trying to be quick.
So how did that happen? I mean, were you in a meditation practice, or did it just come out of the blue?
Well, probably in your own experience that it's sort of like a series of events leading up to it. And then when it happens, it's kabam. I actually all at the same time had really been just kind of like yourself broke down to the bottom of everything that I experienced. I mean, I lost everything. I had my heart literally ripped open. I heard it tear.
Wow.
And of course that led me on a spiritual journey, and I started praying, meditating, etc. And then when it happened, it was just bam, one moment where wisdom was, poured into it's like my crown chakra opened and wisdom was poured in, and that was it. That's where I met my twin flame and all that.
Now, did you meet your twin flame in the ethers, or did you meet them in person, or what happened?
Not in person. We met in the ethers, and we went on that journey for almost 10 years now, and we only met this year in the physical.
Oh, wow. This is
cool. We spent a lot of
yeah. So you're 10 years ago, you have this experience, the lead up, the build up, you have this Kundalini awakening. And was it in that moment that you were introduced to your counterpart, or did it happen?
Well, I was introduced to him in the ethers on a spiritual level, but I didn't know who he was in the physical world yet. And then about 9 months later, I met him in the physical world, and it took a little while to lead up to understanding that he was the one that I resonated with. And then we went on a journey of knowing each other online, but not having a physical connection. We lived in different states, and we went through, just telepathy every day, and going through meditate. Like every time I would meditate, he would confirm things that I was feeling in my meditation online. So it was just like, okay, I'm not going crazy. He knows everything I'm thinking and feeling. So it was a long journey of really just learning to reintegrate with my soul and really accepting and embracing the awesomeness of that connection,
Wow. So where does it stand today? I mean, are y'all still connected today, or
we're still connected. He still lives in another state, so we do have some difficulty there. And in meeting him in the physical, I didn't know this. I always thought, because I could hear his voice inside my soul, so I always thought, one day when we do meet, I'm going to hear his voice. He's going to come up behind me, and I'm going to know it's him. Right. And then when I met him, I found that he had an aneurysm and a stroke, so he doesn't really talk. So I won't be hearing the voice like that. He talks, but not really. So that was that was an interesting.
Wow, that is. Yeah. There's so many different variations of these connections. I mean, I've met and talked to people that their counterpart is not incarnated.
Yeah.
Or at least not at the moment. There's always the possibility of a walk-in. I've had some of them tell me that they're expecting that or been told that. But you've actually developed a relationship in the ethers, and then slowly found the counterpart. And I was when you said that about the voice, I was going to say, yeah, I've heard a lot of people. It happened to me and Morgan. The minute we heard the voice, we knew something was happening.
Yeah.
And I've heard others say that too. So you actually weren't given that, but you were given some other things that are probably more acute senses, sensitivities in terms of being able to communicate in, let's just say, the non physical, or not in a physical way so much, not physical senses. So that's pretty neat.
We had to build everything. I went to heaven, met God, and I had to build it from there down to bring it into the earth plane. So it was a totally opposite than just meeting in the physical and building up. We went the other way for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we did too. I don't want to think about it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Well, okay, because we met, but we were messaging, and but we did a lot. For 17 months, we did a lot of soul merging, a lot of Heiros Gamos. So it was all built from the ethers down to the physical, as opposed to the physical up to same.
You guys just got to meet sooner then.
Yeah. So this is cool. And now, did your abilities take off after you had this experience?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was already pretty psychic, but once that happened, it really, it just opened me up to fully embracing who I am as a multidimensional soul. So definitely polished it.
Does to your knowledge, for the two of y'all, have you had any guidance in terms of the connection and what it might mean in terms of what your mission or missions are?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that was part of what I think delayed us in having a physical connection, is that I personally, and he had a lot of, as you know, everybody's story is different, but we had a lot of baggage to work through.
Mm.
And in doing so, we're stepping into the soul mission because of his situation. He's not as involved in the community. He doesn't even really get online. So
Right.
you're very rarely going to see him. Once in a while, he's in my twin flame group. I have stepped into my soul mission, and I have a large twin flame group called Twin Flame Initiates. It's got like 40-something thousand people. I have another one called Akashic Recall, which has maybe 15,000 so far, and several pages and several groups. And so I'm kind of like in that work now, fully embodying it. And he has some different circumstances a little bit in his life. So how that's going to unfold yet is a mystery. We're still working through it.
Well,
So
it sounds like it already is unfolding.
it is. It's always, unfolding, right?
What about when your Kundalini happened, and since then? I mean, have you had particular consciousnesses or divine essences, angelic, galactic, elemental? Have you had specific ones that have kind of walked you down this path?
Yeah, when the Kundalini activation happened and I accessed the Akashic records, I was initiated by a being that I call Melchizedek. So
Mhm.
I was initiated into the Melchizedek order, and so I work with the galactics and the angelic realms, but it would have been the Melchizedek order that I was initiated into, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I've talked to a few people that have had that experience. And you mentioned when the Akashic records opened up. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about this. I've also heard a lot of people on the show, they talk about how they access the Akashic, and, knowing that everybody's connection or communion with infinite intelligence and all that it offers is unique in how we speak and how we communicate and what's shown to us. It's always intrigued me. It's, my curiosity gets the best of me. And what is tapping into the Akashic? What's that like for you? When do you use it? And, can you just kind of give us an idea of, what your experience is like?
Yeah, for me, it was when I really first understood it, it was like accessing the God mind or the hive mind, the mind of all. And so it was like seeing and hearing and feeling. It was going into this huge etheric library and seeing and understanding every thought and every deed and every action that has happened in the past, that is happening now, and that has happened in the future timelines also. So it was like a full-blown just library full of the all, if you will. And I call it the hive mind or the collective consciousness.
Yeah, beehive intelligence, right?
Yeah.
So, and how does that occur for you? Do you consciously go into the Akashic with intent, or does it just kind of open up to you when it feels like it? In synchronicity? How does that work?
It's pretty much always now accessible to me, but that's through a lot of work, because I've done a lot of work to be able to clear my own energy so that I'm able to access it regularly. But it's pretty much there whenever I want to access it.
And do you use it? You're an energy practitioner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you utilize it in your sessions? And how do you use it? How do you
Yeah,
use
I
it?
do Akashic record readings for people, and so I use it just in sensing where their energy is and where they're at in their ascension level or spiritual growth. I use it also to tap into their past lives and into their starseed origins. So I've been getting a lot of guidance from the Galactics lately to really help people to understand what their galactic origins are, because a lot of souls and starseeds have lived multiple timelines on different planetary systems. And so it's kind of like when you're doing soul retrieval in your earth life, you have to go back and remember all these things that you experienced and make peace with it and that kind of a thing, right? Shadow healing. Well, this is shadow healing on a galactic level to help them to really tap into different lifetimes and timelines in different planetary systems also, which is done through accessing the Akashic records.
Yeah. And how, because I know people have brought it up, and, again, I know everybody's experience is different. I know, for instance, like in my situation, I have had a lot of, especially early on, had a lot of what people would call past life memories.
Yeah.
And then other types of memories, whether it's a, kind of a regressive format or a progressive, forward type of format. A lot of things pop in a lot of different ways. But I've heard people say a couple of things. One, I really want to know what my galactic origin is, or I was told what my galactic origin is with some significance. What is the importance, in your opinion, from your perspective? What is the importance or the significance of knowing your galactic origin, and what comes from that?
Well, what I understand about it at this point is, one, it really has a lot to do with what your genealogy is in incarnating in this lifetime. So you're going to incarnate into certain races, into certain nationalities, and that kind of a thing because of certain soul lessons that you both came to experience, but also that you were prepared for in other planetary systems. So you might have, especially with the Pleiadians are, very common here, but you would have, if you were living in Pleiades or you were Pleiadian, you would have then, in your time there, you would have been learning about the arts, and you would have been learning about, growing your own food, and you would have been learning those skills, so that as you into the earth plane, you are armed with those skills in your DNA, if you will.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, I've resonated for a long time with there's as Franco de Nicola explains, there's a human incarnation lineage, or let's just say Earth life lineage, and then there's a soul lineage.
Yes.
Maybe contained within that soul lineage is a galactic lineage.
Yes.
There does seem to be a link. There does seem to be a link between the galactic lineage and the human Earth incarnation lineage, which makes sense, because we know one way or the other, depending on, the narratives may sound a little different, but that we are a universally seeded planet, and made up of a lot of different lineages, within our DNA and so on. But for someone like, okay, just as an example, you want to play a little bit?
Okay.
Because I sometimes I go into these with the energy practitioners just to kind of get a feel for what they do and how it all works.
Mm-hmm.
I know that energy practitioners, the ones I've pretty much talked to, have basically said they open up their field fully, and then ask the client permission to, if they will open their field and to whatever level of comfort that they can, and then the games begin. But in terms of and I would imagine that everybody's different in terms of who you sit down with. But if somebody for me, I can feel certain galactic lineages. Just give you an honest, an honest assertion of it. I don't feel, what am I trying to say? I don't feel like any particular star system was my birthplace.
Mm-hmm.
I feel multiple different, I could name them, but I'd say probably 6 or 7 or 8 different star systems or star species. I very much know I have an aspect. Yeah. Some of those I've connected with to greater degrees than other ones. But is there one single, from your perspective, is there one single star species origination in our lineage?
No, as far as I understand, you would have been birthed and born in the angelic realms, which would be even beyond the star systems or the galactic systems, if you will. I don't know what you would call that place, but wherever source comes.
I get that. Right? That's how I feel, and I don't know what I would call it either, but because I've asked before and been shown as well. But I always wondered about that, and it makes me wonder too, if the old, let's say the old, probably more dominant school of thought regardless of what end of the world we come from, is that you hear a lot of, Mother Universe took a breath and everything was happened in that moment. So
Yeah.
everything happened at the same time.
Right.
But hearing your description and some other people's, and listening to other people, that come on the show and otherwise, I often wonder, for instance, were some souls birthed here on Earth, as an example, and others, came before? It's almost like there's a linear or chronological aspect to it. And I'm not saying there is. I want to know what your perspective is.
I agree with you, and I'm going to just speak from what I was shown in my awakening, or what Source revealed to me in my own personal revelations, was that the souls that are incarnating on Earth now have lived in other star systems first and developed certain characteristics and qualities that they were going to need to come onto the Earth plane. So Earthlings are really actually highly evolved souls, and not all souls in the higher dimensions got to come to Earth.
Yeah,
as I understand it.
That fits with my own stuff.
Yeah.
There does seem to be, and I'm not saying this because people have written about it, but there does seem to be, people call it first waivers or wayshowers, but there does seem to be kind of a, I don't know, what would you call it? I don't want to say an elite force, because I'm with you. I think everyone that has come here or that is here is absolutely a highly evolved being.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that whole narrative of, Mother Earth put out a clarion call. Souls came from all over the multiverses, specifically for this moment of transformation that we're going through, or that we're on the precipice of at a minimum. But I guess, what I was getting at was there seems to be, it seems to resonate that there is I don't know how you would describe this without sending out a frequency of separation, but a group that maybe came here specifically to lead the charge. Let's put it that way. Does that?
I know where you're going.
Yeah.
I know where you're going with that. And here's my answer, or my understanding is that, yes, you're right. In some handful of souls that are on the planet are here specifically to awaken and help lead the way, or be way showers. But as I saw it, everybody who's here chose a role. So I'm going to use a negative relative that I have, and I won't say who, but a person that's hard to work with. They're very maybe mentally ill or something like that, but they chose that role. It's kind of like playing out a movie. We came to play out this movie, and they, as advanced of a soul as they are, chose that role to help the rest of us awaken. So their role is no less important than yours or mine or a Wayshowers or anybody else. We're all actors on a stage at this point. I
totally agree with that. Absolutely. I often, when I was doing my shadow, you never really stop, do you?
Right.
when I was in the first parts of my awakening, and then even more so after I met Morgan, and she introduced me to, higher levels of playing with energy and reforming DNA and so on. I would often come to the revelation that, it was kind of like this. I remember receiving it this way. Who would you rather have come down into this incarnation with you and play the role of a chief antagonist, like the relative you're talking about, or the one I'm referring to, than somebody that you're really, really close to up in the ethers? You know what I mean? So that always kind of leveled the playing field. But another thing that I find really interesting, particularly over the last few months, particularly over the last 2 or 3 months, is the level of polarization in the community of the so-called Wayshowers and light workers. The expressions and projections, which I am not going to, debate with anybody, but they're obviously not unity consciousness, not judging, just observing their separation. Separation is separation, and unity consciousness is unity consciousness. But what I'm getting at is, what's going on with that in your opinion? I mean, like, why is it that people are choosing sides. One of the things that I saw on your page reminded me of a meme I put up about 2 or 3 weeks ago, which was very interesting in the response. And I said, the Great Awakening has nothing to do with politics. Yours was a little bit more explicit. Really, actually, more
Oh,
my style. More my. But what do you think's going on with that? I mean, I'm talking about just a couple of quick examples. People channeling that, and I respect everybody's reality. Don't get me wrong. People channeling that their guides or their team is telling them that, this group over here are the good guys and this group over here are the bad guys, or people even getting a little bit more charged and saying, hey, if you don't like this or don't like that, get off my page. What are your thoughts on this? Why is it happening? And what do you think about it?
Well, it's all a polishing act, it's all a polishing act. And sometimes, as you know, that in order for your evolution to happen, you had to have people shut the door on your face. Mm-hmm. That was part of your evolution. So it's not necessarily even a bad thing to shut the door on somebody's face sometimes. It doesn't mean it's an eternal thing. It just means that at this particular timeline, I don't want you around me, and that's okay. That's what you need to do sometimes in order to, hone in on your own soul work and your own soul mission if you guys aren't quite on the same level. So I wouldn't say that that's necessarily a bad thing. Not that we want to go around and have conflicts with anybody. But there are times that it happens, and you have to honor that. That's, you have to know when it's just time to cut the cord there. But as far as the polarization within the lightworker community, I think that a lot of that is also coming from the fact that there are layer upon layer upon layer of levels of ascension and evolution. Yeah. So people or something like that, and they'll think, oh, I had a Kundalini, and it's only one part. They've only tapped in. They only got a little taste yet, and there's more. There's always more for all of us. So
it's like dipping your Go ahead. I'm sorry. There was a lag.
Oh, I was just saying, so we have to continue to stay humble and reverent in ourselves so that we remember that we too are always evolving, but that's where they're at. And I think that Tony Robbins once talked about that, and he was more talking about it in your business life, but where, you want to surround yourself around people who are ahead of you and people who are behind you, so that one hand can reach up for and the other one you can reach down and lift somebody else. And that's really what we need to do. And it's a process. So but there's time. Sorry, go ahead.
No, we have a little bit of a lag. I'm not interrupting you on purpose, but that's a great metaphor to me, a great energetic metaphor. And I like Tony Robbins because what that says to me is be open both ways. A lot of times we're open to the light, from our perspective, but we're not open to the dark, and not being open to the dark to me can be, oh my God, that force is coming at me and I need to protect myself or hide or ignore or whatever the case is, when, that to me is no different than too much light, too much pious or whatever the case is. I like what you said too, because it reminds me of you're dipping your big toe into this giant multiversal ocean through one experience, which is actually connecting you and opening the third eye and opening, your senses. But at the same time, it's just like a fly on an elephant's butt. It's just a small part of the whole thing, like you were saying. What about I'm interested to know what your thoughts are on particularly the consciousnesses that I will say are in part non-physical, at least to this point, on the earth. We spend so much time in the ethers, right? Particularly the cosmos, particularly, look up at the stars. So meaning look out, look externally. Yeah. But I'm talking about the elementals, the plant and animal kingdom, the nature beings, and also the inner earth beings. What are your thoughts on those things?
Well, I haven't put a lot of thought on those things much, except during my awakening, where I was fully aware that the elementals, the trees, the plants, even the stones, the gemstones, they're all living beings. And they're constantly sending messages to us if we'll tune into them. So they're definitely here in service of our mission on this planet and our part of Earth. That's my awareness. As far as inner earth beings, I really haven't done a whole lot of work on that. I really haven't looked into it too much, so I won't comment on that.
Yeah, I got you. And thank you for that. We need a lot more of that. The I don't know tells me that somebody's definitely open to things they don't understand and admit to the things they don't understand. I want to go back to this comment on what you were talking about earlier. And because this viewer, and thank you for the comment, Subconscious Awakening on YouTube. She said, I've learned so much about myself with conflicts. I always look at myself. And I think when I was asking you and you were replying, and I just got caught off on another stream, but that's basically what you were relaying. And what I was kind of trying to get to in terms of getting deeper into that answer is that we know it's never them, it's always me. Everything is for me. So on one hand, I can see where we're all having a higher level of self-awareness when we project and when we send out frequencies of separation. More and more people are having an answer like, I don't know, or just keeping their mouth shut, know, until they're balanced. But I just wanted to point that out because she was basically restating or reaffirming and validating what you were saying. And that's a good thing to me. Yeah.
And then I just want to add this in there because I do work with a lot of people that are going to see this or in the twin flame group. And so they're in those dynamics where maybe they're still unhealed divine masculines or feminines. And so there's a fine balance between you taking accountability for you and then you knowing when it's somebody else's problem. And you need to be able to decipher the two because it's not your problem if somebody's beating you and throwing down the stairs. It's your fault that you stayed there. But you need be able to differentiate. And so I just wanted to throw that in there so that people aren't getting confused on that because you don't want to take ability for someone else while they're doing something. And I don't want to open the door for violence in my life. So if they're like that, I'm closing the door. Then I can do my inner work and figure out why I was in that situation in the first place and change the timeline. Yeah,
that's a very good point. And I think that's been part of the evolution over the last few years of empaths, it's so hard to not use terms that label us, but what I'm trying to say is there's been a kind of a uniform characteristic because if you came into these groups, and you probably know this because you know of your history, but I came into these communities probably late 2013, and there was a lot of empath groups, a lot of empath support groups, which was essentially. You don't see them like you did back then. You don't see them today because essentially at the time it was kind of an energy of why is it that I feel everybody's emotions and why do I go into a building and I hear everybody's voices and, really to put it in just simpler terms, why am I feeling all this energy that's not mine? And then of course the stories of the empaths, being in relationships with narcissists and so on and so on and so on. But there seems to be like a turn in that where the empath characteristics or attributes were once a weakness are now becoming a strength. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. It's just that the empath and the narcissist are the same energy on two polar opposites.
Exactly.
And until you heal and merge that in on both sides, the empath's never always innocent and the narcissist is never always guilty. It's a polarity thing that has to be healed from both angles. So when an empath is with a narcissist, they have to look at themselves to find out where are they going wrong, if you will. I don't like the word wrong, but where are they? What are they doing to cause that situation? And at the end of the day, as they work through that, they'll find the code or the key code, right? The light code will get activated in them, but it can't get activated until they do that work.
Yeah. I think it's a great template. Really. I mean, I know it's caused a lot of confusion and pain and suffering over the years, but I know I don't do a lot of session work, but I when I'm called to, which is mostly, going back, a few years. But one thing I would hear a lot of was, I'm living with a person who's, essentially for the sake of the discussion, a narcissist. I'm an empath. I'm a nice person. I would never do that. And we all know the story. We were a doormat. We, try to communicate with them on an irrational level or whatever, what all that stuff. But it would always come to me. This is probably why I can't be an energy practitioner, because everything seems like a simple face it or not thing. But like I always seem to say to them, do you feel like you are that, in other words, do you feel separate from that energy that you're describing, that you cohabitate with or that you're in a relationship with? And always the answer would be, yeah, I'm not like that. And to me, that was always, and this is on a personal level, but to me, that was always the perfect new opportunity to find that integration point between two polarities. So maybe that's part of one of the bases of our transformation is converting that narcissist empath, because it's everywhere, isn't it?
It is. But see, you have to be first willing to step out of that archetype of being a victim. And I think a lot of people aren't ready for that, because victimhood gives them some level of comfort for a time until they have to grow through it. So when you're a victim, you get to blame the whole world, and then that way you don't have to be accountable to actually change heavy duty things. Shadow healing isn't easy. Right. So having to change it takes a lot, and that's that big stairway to heaven that you have to be able to climb those steps, because otherwise you're going to stay stuck there, and that's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. The universe doesn't let you flatline.
No.
It just doesn't happen.
I tried a few times. It didn't work.
We all did. We've all said, get me out of here, please.
Right.
So like in terms of in your experience, the cultivation and expansion of our higher sensitivity skills, abilities to include connecting to higher self, multidimensional, astral traveling, bilocation, telepathy, the 6th, 7th, 10th, 12th senses and all that. How does a person do that? How does a person broaden their awareness and those things that come with it?
Well, obviously it's already built into your DNA, and it's already part of your soul design, but everybody's at different levels. So how they're going to do it's maybe a little bit different, but obviously meditation and prayer is the biggest key. Getting in nature, and I'm sure everybody that's come on your show says this, because the truth is the truth is the truth. Yeah. Meditate, pray, trust your intuition, learn self-love. That's the biggest one. Self-love is the key to turning your whole life around, and really tapping into your higher senses as well. Because when you start to love your soul, you start to recognize your soul, and otherwise you're kind of off running around avoiding it, and then you can't tap into its abilities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I always, because there's so many complications, right? Because we are this mix of multidimensionality, and we're getting information in, and we're also having human experiences, and we have old traumas, and we have ancestral things, and and I always go back to like the whole thing about it's never them, it's always me. Sometimes, and I still am inclined this way, that we can't see everything, and maybe we're all beating at the same vibration. It just doesn't look that way because we got 8 billion different perspectives, and perception is consciousness. But it's one of the things too that has been seemingly coming into the fold has been the higher we go is predicated, and I'm not saying this is gospel, but I'd like to hear your perspective on it. But the higher we go, so to speak, you know what I mean by that, metaphorically, is predicated on the deeper we go within our human essence, being human, not running from being human, not ignoring the humans part of it. Because if we look at our, say, like in your, what you were saying, if we look at our self-love quotient, it's most impeded by our perception of our human, right? So you get all that. You have any comments on that?
Oh, I have a lot of comments on
Go for it.
that.
Go for it. This is
I've
good.
been on a kick about that all year long because obviously I work with a lot of people who are also spiritual healers and light workers and things, but a lot of them are at different levels of their ascension. And I think that a lot of people have the misconception that ascension means coming out of your human self and going into some higher place somewhere, when in my awareness, yes, you did that to find your truth or to find or to connect to your high soul, but your work is to bring it here onto earth. Go make cookies for your neighbor, go visit them, check on the lady down the street that's alone and make sure she's okay and not in there suffering and dying. We're here in the human world for humanity.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. That's really what it's about. And when we lose touch with that in our work to ascend or work to heal our soul or whatever, we're still disconnected. We're still in a program. It's a program.
Exactly. How do you think we're doing? I mean, again, my timeline's probably about the same as yours. My reawakening or whatever was summer of 2011.
Yeah, mine too.
Really?
Yeah.
Mine was May 30th at 1:11 in the morning. I don't know exactly.
Bug fly right into my window. One of those alchemy bugs flew right window, and I was like,
But yeah, how do you think we're doing? I mean, when I say that, when I ask that, what I mean is, for me anyway, and your feeling may be different, and certainly elaborate on how you feel about it. But when I say how are we doing, I'm looking at really how close are we to having physical transformations, what they would call in the old world miracles, instant manifestation, instant healing, teleportation, things that would seem far out fantastical and impossible. How do you think we're doing in relation to where we've come from to where we are?
Well, I don't know about others. I can only speak for myself as far as that goes, but I know that I can instantly manifest. I do instantly manifest regularly, and teleport and all that stuff. As a collective, I would say that we're in a really awesome stage right now. We have a lot of work still to do, a lot, but we're in such a pivotal stage right now where, the collective is, at least my dad, who's 80 years old, after all 10 years of me being on this twin flame journey and him really kind of being a little scared to deal with it because he had a religious background, 10 years of this, just 2 days ago called me to ask me a twin flame question. Like, wow, really?
What was the twin flame question? Did he meet somebody or what?
No, he's just curious. He's married in his own life, and it's a divine union, so it's kind of like maybe he's curious about it. I don't know, but it's it's interesting and it's awesome to see. And I'm hearing like people that I did real estate with years ago when I was in my 3D life, thought I was crazy. They all thought I was crazy when I went off, and went homeless. I went homeless also for a while I had my awakening. And they all thought I was Looney Tunes. And now, today, they're all calling me and talking to me about David Icke and, the body and all this stuff.
Well, you're doing better than me. Yeah, it sounds like, we woke up around the same time and had a similar thing. I was homeless 2 years, and I was told I was crazy. Of course, everybody here has been told that. And, but I don't have them coming to me yet. I've had a couple of my kids come to me and say, what's going on? That type of thing. What was I going to ask you about? Oh my God. Oh, okay. So this is a big subject. All right. Twin flames. And we know that, we're in this environment. It's a perfect imperfection. And there's, terms, the frequency of terms gets, contorted and whatever, different connotations to it. But I know what you're talking about in terms of that connection that did not, at least from my perspective, doesn't have to necessarily be romantic, because I've met people that are connected that have the same frequency, for instance, that Morgan and I do, and I've met individuals that have it. But my question is more to not get into the semantical differences and all that.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, what is the reason? What is the role of this this Trinity connection, this triad connection, this divine consort, divine union, sacred union, twin flame. What is that all about from your experience?
Well, in my understanding, it's really the ultimate original split of the soul that caused so much suffering on the earth plane. So all of our suffering came from not being with or knowing that we were truly divinely loved, and that when we have that awareness or that remembrance of our own soul's design to know that wherever we are, we're safe, we're whole, we're loved, we're divine, we're connected, we're never alone. It gives a tremendous amount of peace, and that peace we wouldn't have otherwise had if we didn't have that knowledge. So people are creating wars, and they're cheating on each other, and they're violating each other, and using and abusing and all these things because they're looking for love, and they're trying to, and that's my understanding, is that was the original split that caused humanity's suffering, and that as we're coming back into union with one another, it's causing a healing and a reintegration of the soul, and therefore of the collective body.
Yeah, I get that. And then, of course, with everything being brought to a singularity, people, I think one thing that isn't debated in terms of semantical differences is, divine union, sacred union occurs inside, right? Occurs inside each one of us.
Yes.
One of the things that really intrigues me about our journey together, all of us, and what's occurring potentially, well, it is occurring, and the potential of it's expanding, is now the manifestation of a mirror in the physical that then brings into play a third energy that is, I guess, non-physical and physical, and almost like you could call it Holy Spirit, you could call it Chi, you could call it a lot of things, Brahman. I mean, but that seems to be really picking up pace. Although you don't see it on mainstream media, you don't even see a lot of it being talked about in what you might call alt news platforms, but almost like it's the hidden secret, the secret weapon, what I mean? I mean, can you relate to that?
Oh yeah, it's like accessing superpowers, and not to over glorify the situation, but in certain ways it's like tapping into some superpowers there, to where nothing, you remember you're invincible, you're eternal, your body can die, but those, you're always eternal. So it is a superpower in some ways, but I understand what you're saying. And it's anchoring also a divine aspect, I think, of our higher selves. It's anchoring into the planet so that we're not living in our low frequency selves.
Yeah. Wow, I've really had a lot of stuff come in lately in regard to, because our number 2 hashtag at Soulology is the human is the hero, and that has so many different meanings, like everything does, really, especially as time goes on. You get some download, and a year from now it means something totally different, and a year later it means something totally different. But the human, what I've been feeling is the equality of the human aspect with all of our, I'll just use this on a personal level, like all of our oversoul aspects. So whether it be a Syrian aspect or an angelic aspect or anything else. I just feel like the human aspect of us is becoming, on one hand, more going deeper into itself, and on the other hand, on an inverted basis, becoming more expansive and more alike those things that we've connected to that woke us up that were non-physical. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I totally agree with you on that. I totally agree. And I think that's kind of a lot of the integration that we do when we're in that soul journey with our twin flame after activation, or at least it was for me, is that, we had to first integrate everything from the highest dimension down. So it was a lot of realizing, oh, I'm this and I'm that. And had lived on this planet and had this past life and those kinds of things, so that all of them can come together into your beingness, and all of a sudden you're not just this little itty bitty human.
Yeah, exactly.
It's something so much more.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you about this too. So, and very recently too, the what am I trying to say here? I don't want to say veto power, but there's something coming into my field anyway, which is that the human aspect absolutely has a voice in when it comes to the decision-making process. And I know we've been in free will, don't get me wrong, but I'm talking about something that's more of like a merging of free will to divine will. But almost like, let me put it this way, free will merging with the new divine will, and the new divine will being a product of our experience in these human incarnations, as well as what we brought into this world with us. Okay, so in other words, a more prominent, confident, creative, impactful influencer, and ultimately the final decision maker with a higher level of discernment being the human, and the human being on equal ground with the rest of our aspects. Does that resonate with you at all? Do you have anything you could add to that or subtract? Don't be shy.
It does. It does. It's a paradox. What you were just saying, I was like, well, what he's saying both sides of this whole big picture. That's a paradox, which is that we're God and we're just a little human at the same time. And as we're starting to integrate it, we're really becoming God on earth, or I guess that's the best way I could say it. I don't know that I could add any other easier way to describe it than the way that you did, but I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I, just one of the things I've learned too is, especially doing the show, is being spontaneous and honoring what's being presented as you're in this container, if you will, with this other person and all the people that make it up, because to me that's just as important. The people, as Abraham Hicks talks about vortexes or vortices, and to me it's all who watch it, who will watch it later, but in this eternal moment, which has no linear aspect, it's all being created now. But I just think that there's a certain symmetry and synchronicity that's occurring that, at least in my own life, I try to honor it. So that whatever I spit out or whatever you spit out is actually not us talking. It's the whole composition of this vortex. Yeah, I appreciate this is cool. And so let me ask you this too. The term sacred sexuality is another one that has a lot of points of contention or differences in terms of semantics. But if looking at everything as energy, including ourselves and including our physical bodies, and then taking into account your great explanation of the energy, the frequency, vibration of divine union of twins, whatever you want to call it, how does that relate to the sacred sexual vibration, the what might be, and this might be a weak attempt, a futile attempt to describe it, but the fusion of the non-physical and the physical power source of the hybrid human. Is there a relationship occurring between sacred sexuality and the expansion of, let's say, this Trinity frequency, divine union frequency? And if so, what are your thoughts on it, and what's the potential of it, so on?
Ooh, you're walking me into a trap here.
Do we need to put up a disclaimer right now? All elderly people and children, please turn the set off now. No, I'm kidding.
I'm going to speak from my own experience again, because I realize that people are at all different levels of evolution. But in my journey, I even after I met my twin flame, I still had sex with somebody outside of that union. Believe it or not, it was the dumbest thing, but I did. And it was because it took us so many years to come into the physical, so I was getting confused and stuff, you know. But anyway, in that journey I did, and in doing so, boy, did I learn a hell of a lesson, and I mean hell. So coming together was so sacred and so beautiful, and it was like in my awareness, the twin flames are made from God. They're the ones that were meant originally to be together. And when you're having sex with somebody else, it's like having a pair on your system. It's like opening the door to cockroaches there. With it. So and you know, take the own personal, that sacred sexuality was my journey with him, where it was realization that we in our alchemical makeup are made as we're made together, and that door it can cause distortions to your Merkaba. It can cause your Merkaba to get distorted, and so that was what happened to me. And I had years again until I realized, wow, of, you know, the power of that other energy being in my union when I was already brought to union with somebody on a soul level.
Right.
It's very, very, very hard level.
Well, that would have been a hard thing to know going into it, though. I would, you know, have to give yourself some, you know, give yourself a little, you know, give yourself a little break, because you've taken, even in these circles, you know, a unique path in your connection. You know, yeah. It's not like Morgan and I living together every day, and you know, but I know energetically it's all the same thing. And I really appreciate what you had to say too, because you know, I'm a big believer going back to the new divine will. You know, a lot of people talk about we got to return to original blueprint. I don't think we're returning to the original blueprint. I think we're creating the new blueprint. And again, it's based on what we brought in here and what you add that to our experience, and then you have a new higher truth, higher love, you know, more refined blueprint. But yeah, I really appreciate your honesty, because that's a lot of this stuff we're finding out as we go, you know, based on the best decision we can make, given our perfect imperfections and everything else that goes with it. And another thing might be so you have a primarily telepathic, etheric relationship, which I guess when it's all said and done, we all do. But I mean, in the literal, you know, from the human perspective, it's not, let's say, it's not conventional. Let's put it that way. And so, but do you find that you, or let me put it this way, do you find that you can merge with others the way you do with your partner, or is there a certain place or level, or even if you want to, you just can't go past with anyone else? Does that make sense? Oh, she froze. I think it's getting too hot in here.
In and out a little.
Yeah.
The last part.
I think it's the energy. Let's just see if we can pull the energy back.
Do I have that connection?
Yeah, you're cutting out too. Okay, you back? I hear you now. You back? What the heck? Okay. All right. Well, we got 58 minutes and 26 seconds into it. We'll have to do this again sometime. And oh, you're back. Oh. Well, we're in and out. It's like that. Anyway, it's all good. Peace out. You take care.
Peace out.
Love you. Bye-bye.